Welcome to Eaton Academy's LEAP program, and this is Critics Corner, where we review all things media, whether it's comics, sports, movies, trailers, video games, or anything that we might enjoy together and have a great opinion about. So we are going to be here today reviewing some books, comics, and sports. Critics Corner.
Hello, I'm Andrew Solis, and welcome to Critics Corner. Today I'm reviewing The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past comic book review, the graphic novel by Japanese artist Shotaro Ishinomori. This comic is based on the game of the same name, which was released for the Super Nintendo in 1992. This is actually a collection of a bunch of the old Nintendo Power comics throughout different series, issues of the magazine in 92 and 93. The story is very similar to the game. It follows the story of Link when he's woken up in the middle of the night by the voice of the Princess of Hyrule, Zelda. He goes out and finds out that his uncle has died trying to rescue her, that he himself has to save her from the evil wizard Agnem, and thus becomes a criminal. Now, the artwork in this comic, to me, is very similar to like a weird hybrid between like a Calvin and Hobbes kind of style and also Ron Howard's Willow, which kind of reminded me of that movie. But also it's kind of like Japanese anime-ish, but it's notably because probably it's, a Japanese artist created this comic series. It's very well drawn. The art style in it is pretty neat. It's not too serious. This isn't like a Twilight Princess style, like art style Zelda comic. This is more of a cartoony Zelda. One of the problems I did have with the comic is it was a little fast paced. The game obviously takes a while to go through it, and I didn't expect it to be that long and drawn out, but just a little bit fast paced. I wish they could go deeper into some of the characters, like one of the new characters they introduced, Rome, which is, let me try to find him. He's right here. He's Link's rival when he reaches the Dark World, and if anyone's played the game, what happens is Link gets the three pendants of courage, power, and wisdom, just like the Triforce, and then he can get the Master Sword, fight Agnem, and Agnem sends him to the Dark World. While he's in the Dark World, he meets Rome, who's a man who turns into a bird, because people who are looking for things like glory or gold or anything that's selfish become animals or trees in the Dark World, just like in the game. In the case of Rome, he's not a criminal or anything, but he's just prideful, and his pridefulness and selfishness makes him into an animal. Link is pure of heart and only wants to save the world, therefore he's not turned to anything. This was a pretty interesting comic. They put a lot of things from the video game, like the mirror, that can teleport you from the light to the Dark World. Except in this, you can just communicate. I thought it was very well done. A little fast-paced. I think the characters were a little flat. It was still an interesting read because I'm someone who likes fantasy, particularly Zelda. I don't think this book would be good for any fan of like medieval-style fantasy like literature, but for a Zelda fan, I would definitely say it's worth checking out. The end of the book. So in the story, after you're heading to the Dark World, he has to save the 7 maidens from a series of monsters like this one. Just like in the game of the same name. And at the very end, he finally gets Zelda. Let me get to that part. He finally rescues Zelda, and then he's able to fight Ganon in his fortress. Finally, we reach the climax of the book where he presumes he's fighting the Dark Lord Ganon, who Agnem works for. He's the wizard, his commander. And he unexpectedly meets, Agnem's ghost. Which is, I think it was similar. I haven't played the game in a while, but I think Agnem does fight him at the end. But this is different because he is a ghost. It isn't just like him alive still in the Dark World. After Rome, with his pridefulness, after he attacks Agnem and they both kill each other, Ganon is released from Agnem, and the final battle finally ensues. The battle in this part of the book, the very end, is by far the best part. It's the most nostalgic, and I think the art style is the best. So you can see it. The battle is very similar to the final battle in the game. It's obviously cut shorter, but it ends with Link almost being stabbed, presumably, as you can see here. And Zelda, instead of Link firing the arrow after he stuns him with his the Master Sword, Zelda fires the arrow, and that is the finishing blow. You can see him exploding here, and all the cartoony style wizard just pretty neat, pretty neat. And when he's killed, the Triforce is released, and Link touches the Triforce, which means that he can wish for anything he wants. Since he's pure of heart, it returns the world back to. It brings peace back to the land, and and Hyrule to its former glory. And at the very end, he meets his dead uncle and his parents, who are knights, and he becomes himself an honored knight of Hyrule and a servant of Princess Zelda. And from that point on, the Master Sword rests for centuries until it is needed again. So, all in all, I thought this was a pretty good book. If I'm being completely honest, it was pretty disappointing, but it was still fun. It's pretty neat that it's actually originally like a Nintendo Power comic, that it was broken up into different parts, and then the guy compilated it all together into this one book. So that part's really neat. I think I would give it a score of 5.5, I'd give it a score of 6 out of 10 Pepe the Frogs, easily. But that mostly comes from being a Zelda fan. For a fantasy fan, I'm not so sure. I mean, it was really good, but for a Zelda fan, I would definitely at least check it out. You might not like it, but it's worth a read. In conclusion, this book isn't for everybody, but if you're a fan of The Legend of Zelda, why not? Anyway, that was Critics Corner. Have a good day, fams. Download more RAM, and one more thing. Have a good day.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the League program. I'm going to be talking about Doug Flutie and how he played in the NFL, the CFL, and in the USFL. Doug Flutie was a small man. In the NFL, he was a small man, 5'9" and 3/4 inches, a typical size for a man. What is so special about this guy is what he committed to football. He played college at the only offer that he got, which was from BC or Boston College, and what he is most recognized for in college was the Hail Mary pass that he did called 55 flood tip. Now the problem with the play was you're supposed to tip the ball. He doesn't tip the ball. He just gunslings it, and hopefully someone will catch it. After he played in college, he in 1985 or 84, I believe, he started his pro journey in football, and he played for a league called the USFL, the United States Football League, and as he came in, that was basically the end of the league, because it was going bankrupt, and owners weren't putting in enough money, and the league wasn't getting enough money. And so after that, the Los Angeles Rams owned his contract rights, but he never stood with the Rams. So he started his NFL journey with the Chicago Bears in 1986. And then after he was with the Bears, that was his only first stint in the 80s with an NFL team, and then he was just considered as a backup. So he crossed the border, north of the border, into Canada, and he got in 1990 and got his first starting job with the BC Lions, the British Columbia Lions. spent 3 years with the Lions, and then they didn't want to give him. They didn't want to budge on their offer to extend his contract, so he left and went to Calgary, the Stampeders, and that's where he spent 4 years in Calgary. And then he got 2 Grey Cup appearances, won both Grey Cup appearances with the Stampeders, and then he left because he wasn't getting paid what he wanted on time. He was always getting paid a year late. So he left he left Calgary, and after Calgary he went to the heart of the franchise, which was Toronto, and he played with the Toronto Argonauts, and got a Grey Cup appearance with them, and they won a Grey Cup, and that was in 1996. And then in 1998 was when he got back into the NFL for his second stint with the NFL, and it was with the Buffalo Bills. And what is so sad was he could. So in 1998, Flutie was about to retire, but then he got back into the NFL with the Bills, and he had the opportunity to compete for the starting job. Now, what was so disappointing about that was right like a week after they signed Flutie, they got someone from Jacksonville named Rob Johnson, who was incredible with the Jaguars, and so they basically said, okay, we'll sign you, but then they backstabbed him and got someone else because they didn't have faith in him. And Flutie knew he already had the starting job because during week 1 when they were playing against the Chargers, Johnson got a serious injury and was out for a couple of weeks, and Flutie was named the starting quarterback. Now, what was so sad about Flutie when he got back into the NFL was that he never won a Super Bowl ring, as he won a Grey Cup ring with the CFL. And after he was done with the Bills in 2001, he was signed by the San Diego Chargers. And then after playing with the Chargers for a couple of years until 2005, he signed again with the Patriots. And so then after he played, and what's really neat when he was with the Patriots was that not only was he playing with Tom Brady, but he was going to retire after that season, even though he knew he could still play. The head coach Bill Belichick said, "Okay, I know you're going to retire, so I'm going to give you this present." And the present was a drop kick, which there has not been a drop kick since 1940, and he made the drop kick, and that was Belichick's present saying, "Okay, thank you for what you've done with us. Here's my retirement present from me to you." And my whole thing about this is he was criticized so much about being small, and you can accomplish anything what you want to do. It doesn't matter what it is. It can be a director, it can be a sports player, it can be a reporter, it can be a news analyst, or just anything you want to do. Go for it. Don't let anybody criticize. Don't listen to the critics. Yes, I know they're going to be out there, but don't listen. I mean, they can't control you. Only you can. So do what you want to do. Don't listen to other people. Do what you want to do and do what's right to you. Thank you. What I'm about to show you guys is the play that made Doug Flutie so popular and so, like, oh my god, like, how did that happen? That never happens. And it's the 55 flood tip that he did in college. It was they were gonna go to the same bowl game, which was the Orange Bowl, which took place in Miami, and they're playing against the Hurricanes, and it was 45-41, and there was 28 seconds left in the fourth quarter, and that's when Flutie made the play.
Or down around the 5-yard line in hopes of, if they don't get the completion, a possibility of an interference. Game cannot end on a defensive penalty, so they would have another play. So I think he's got to put it up down deep in the end zone.
Maybe a design scramble to allow him to buy some time.
Penalty marker is down, play is stopped. One thing is certain, those brave folks who sat out here in the Orange Bowl and put up with this terrible weather saw a whale of a football game, and they should give both teams a rousing ovation when this one is over.
This is one of the better ones that I've seen.
Receivers out to the right. Flutie flushed. Throws it down. Caught by Boston College. I don't believe it. It's a touchdown. The Eagles win it.
Unbelievable.
I don't believe it. Phelan's at the bottom of that pile. Here comes the Boston College team. He threw it into the end zone. There was no time left on the clock. The ball went between two defensive backs of Miami. Jack McNell is the only person over there on the sidelines. He couldn't get the headset off fast enough. Doug Flutie has done it. And your heart goes out to Bernie Kosar, who did everything he could. And like we said, it went down to the last at bat. And Flutie and Boston College have won it.
Hey guys, what's going on? Oh my god, what is Lucas X doing on Critics Corner? I know, okay, I never told you guys that I go to the league program, okay? But anyway, I'm here to review the cheese with you guys. Yes, I know it sounds weird, but I thought I'd do it anyway. So let's do this. So there is this thing called called a cheese.
Okay, cut it off.
Hey guys, what's going on? Yeah, you probably know me from that YouTube channel, Lucas X. Well, apparently I'm here to talk to you about cheese on the league program. Yeah, that. So, apparently, there is this type of cheese called a cheese pie. And what that is that it's a ball. It's a cheese ball that you put in your mouth. But the thing is, it was made a long time ago. Now, you guys probably don't already know this, but scientists discovered that they tasted this, and one of the scientists' hands started going, it's like, blood, and it's like...
What? That is so lit.
And then the cheese ball, so...
I want to hear more about it.
Well, scientists decided it was too dangerous, so they didn't. Yeah.
Alright.
Take 3.
Hey y'all, welcome to the League program. I'm going to be talking about Doug Flutie, a quarterback who played in the NFL, the USFL, and in the CFL.
That's,
I gotta get out.
it's okay. It's okay.
Alright, cheese. Alright, so the year was 1879 and the country was England. Sir Henry Cheeseworth invented the first perfectly round cheese. Now, he was a physician. So he created this cheese, and all around Europe it spread, and then eventually the world. Lucas, explain more.
So, it was a really popular cheese. It was a really popular cheese called the cheese ball. Now, it was really cheddar.
Right.
But as it kept expanding, there were times where there was some things where...
Well, the English, they wanted to expand the cheese market to the Orient. So they...
Let me guess, they come up with a cheese ball.
They would catapult cheese from Malaysia to Hong Kong. There would be these little balls of cheese, and they would fly right into the mouths of these people in Hong Kong, and that's where the Cheez-Its idea came from, where, you know, in the commercials, they throw the cheese. They throw the Cheez-Its, and then that comes from Hong Kong, where they would catapult the cheese, and then people would catch in their mouths. Very interesting. Not a lot of people know that. You might think I'm making it up, but I'm red pilling you. We're keeping it real. Lucas, tell a little bit more. I'll cut in when you need me.
Okay, so...
Who cut the cheese?
Now, the thing is, there was a problem with this cheese as time went by. Now, scientists started doing experiments on them. And the thing is, one scientist...
They called it blue cheese.
Nobody knows his real name. He might have been German. We don't know. We don't know who he was.
So he put experiments on it, and he put it in his mouth.
Who cut the blue cheese?
And that's when his head just starts going like, it's like boom!
Too full of cheese.
Keep in mind, this is legend. We are not sure. Now listen, fams. We know what's going on. We're gonna keep this as lit for you as possible. Alright? So...
This is stinky cheese time.
The cheese...
Blue cheese time.
In conclusion, the cheese market became so lit that before it was just for the wealthy. Today, basically anyone can enjoy it. So we have to thank Sir Henry Cheeseworth for the invention of cheese. Now, here's the video.
Or the flying cheese.
Alright.
Take 1.
Video.
The video of cheese.
You're gonna see, this is a very blue-pilled video. They're trying to mislead you. They don't want you to know the truth.
Of course they do.
Hey everybody, I'm Chris and this is D-News, and today, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, lactose imbibers of all ages, we are going to talk about cheese. Yeah, cheese. This wheel of bacterial benefaction has been around for 7 millennia. So
Live right there.
We would have a Camembert cavalcade, a ricotta rejoicing, a paneer party. I could go on, but this week we found out that prehistoric farmers in Poland were making cheese 7,000 years ago.
You're a liar.
The thing is, at the time, the human stomach couldn't digest the sugars in milk called lactose. So instead of drinking the milk out of their cows, full of lactose. The best way to still be able to enjoy that product was to turn it into cheese. Just a little lactose. Whether they grasped the genius of their plan is really unknown, but because of this new invention, these farmers were able to get the nutritional benefits of the superfood milk without having to evolve a way to enjoy monstrous amounts of lactose. Also, keeping those cows with them wasn't just for beef anymore, it was also for the renewable resource that they produce, which is really Gouda. And thus began the saga of cheese. How they found this out goes all the way back to
There might be
clay pots
like
that were
this
found by
later.
archaeologists that had weird holes drilled in them.
Oh.
To create cheese, these farmers would have had to have a limited knowledge of biochemistry, because cheese is a cultured milk product. Essentially, that means they would have taken milk and then added vinegar or something else like an enzyme, like rennin, which is found in a calf's stomach. And that would have gotten the curdling process started. Once the milk is curdled, it'll separate into curds and whey. Then you take that and strain it through these clay pots and press the curds together
I don't know what you're
and
talking
get
about.
cheese. Cheese is still made like this today, but the technology has improved, some. Cutting this ancient cheese might have helped turn these humans from hunter-gatherers into a more settled existence, because they would now have a staple of nutrition. If your interest is piqued, it might be useful to know that this is just the oldest provable evidence of cheese making. There are cave paintings and sculptures that are thousands of years older than this, so we may never know the origin of cheese.
But what about the
Today,
cheese
there are
ball?
hundreds
It
of
never
different
talks
types of
about the
cheese
cheese
on
ball.
every continent, but it all started with some farmers
It's very
in
cheesy.
Poland.
Too cheesy.
Probably. Cheese is fantastic. So here's my question. How do you take your cheese? What's your favorite type of cheese? Do you have a cheese recipe? I take mine with some baguettes, maybe some goat cheese, a little Malbec out of a classy box. That's how I roll. Let us know in the
Quit
comments.
sounding fancy, you doofus.
Alright, so that wasn't really red pill, but that wasn't blue pill either. So, I'm sorry, I assumed the worst. That was pretty good. I was disappointed he didn't bring up the cheese ball, but hey, that's why we're here.
Oh my god.
The end.